I do think that this is the first time that I just don't really see what's going to happen exactly in the next 6 months.
I actually think that experiential is going to magnify, is my guess. The independent retailers have an opportunity. The ones I see succeeding are the ones that are doing these experiential events using social media.
Hello there, Cathy Wagner, your host at The Richer Retailer. You are in for a treat today. This man has had such an incredible and fascinating and tumultuous career. I am so excited to be able to get your perspective on independent retailers. Dominick, you've had such a diverse and exciting, tumultuous career.
I like that.
In retail and in media. What are some of the key moments that brought you to where you are now? And how did it shape the way you think of the future of retail?
I love it. And I thank you for having me. And especially the independent retailers has been an interesting kick. I was born out of media. I founded thecelebritycafe.com, later ran Inquisitor.com, got me in front of 40 and 80 million Americans every month. And I would have the retailers, number one, approach me not from where I am now, which is more of the retail side. It was from the retail side. What I mean by that is it was, instead of where you have now, how many AirPod units are being sold every month. Mm-hmm. They were calling me saying, do I like the design of the AirPod? Do I like how it looks? What will the consumer respond to? The independents started calling me, how do I sell online? Because I was that audience. I provide that audience. I provide those eyeballs. What causes them to click here instead of there was my initial question. During COVID, especially 2019, 2020, I started mentoring a lot of retailers to get through COVID. It was something that I went clinically insane, and I would just, anyone who needed advice, I'm like, sure. I signed up for a mentorship platform. I even mentored in Spanish, Italian, and French. Yes, it was insane because I just, sure, whatever you need, I'm here. It gave me a different perspective. And then eventually I started this company you see now, Retail Tech Media Nexus, where we connect the tech companies to the retailers, retail, tech, media, connecting that dots. And I think it's that whole ecosystem. I entered the ecosystem from that consumer media side, influencer media outlets. And it was the answer of how the consumer makes that purchase. Then I started learning last mile and delivery and everything else that makes the retail operation. But I started essentially with the simple question, what makes the consumer buy the darn thing? And how the hell do we have them click it more? That was the start.
Why did people care what you thought about it? Why were they asking you those kind of questions?
Because once you owned that audience, clearly it was causing 80 million people to read what we're doing every month.
Oh, I see. Sure.
How do we redirect that? What gets people there? And I think I was good at the skill of getting them their eyeballs attention. Mm-hmm. And as a retailer, that is the question. And if you have independent retailers, how do you get enough people to look at my store to purchase that shirt? So the question was a transference. Ultimately, on one end of this equation is, how do you sell the shirt? Should I use Shopify? How do I ship it? How do I deliver it? What is the best means of getting the product in the hands? Mm-hmm. I was on the other end of this equation. Why are they not buying the shirt? Where should they click? And I started just getting good at that equation of just increasing the darn sales. And like I said, probably 200 plus, I would just be like, oh, I see the problem. You're using the red ad instead of the pink ad, or the pink ad instead of the blue ad. Or
yeah, right.
That's what the consumer responding to. And you started kind of getting that in the back of your mindset. How do you get that consumer to get excited? Because that's ultimately the end of the day, what everyone wants in the retail space is to sell more widgets. Whatever that widget may be, we all just want to get one or two more of those sales.
And I do think that one of the problems, well, and not just independent retailers, I think so many retailers, so many people have, is that they don't think big enough and they get so stuck in the what and in the how that they aren't looking at the big, huge picture. Right. I mean, you have a zillion followers on LinkedIn with your background in what you did with Retail Wire. I mean, you're so known for thinking bigger. Have you always been like that? And how do you nurture it? How do you not get stuck in the weeds?
The weeds is how one gets there. I was lucky I mean, the media outlets, the Celebrity Cafe at one point was the number 7 entertainment publication on the web. It was insane. There were days I'd get phone calls from ad networks. I remember one day in our readership at Inquisitor, it was greater than multiple publications out there.
Hmm.
So you kind of I was exposed to that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I interviewed probably 600 plus celebrities. So I was always thinking big, interviewing Led Zeppelin, Dave Matthews. I mean, there's a lot of big names I've interviewed over the years that I'm blessed by. I think from the retail side of it, there's a lot of people who get stuck in as far as they know. I'm very proud of one of the few skills I have, I joke, is that I'll call that expert to help me get along, to grow it to the next thing. I'm thrilled when people were reaching out to me for coaching and mentoring all through COVID. And I kind of noticed those people willing to ask the question would grow their business further just by the mere fact of their nature to ask that question, to say, I just want to know, what do I do? So yeah, that was to me the differentiator, the willingness to ask the question and to grow by far.
You do see that people don't know what they don't know, but honestly, they're kind of comfortable knowing that. And so that's how they stay stuck.
It is true. Another aspect, I was the CMO for Adorama Pics, the online photo standalone company. One of the things I remember that really moved the sales is when we identified the demographic at the time, and we found there was a contingent that was Orthodox Jewish. I just sat with the guys and say, I don't know Orthodox Judaism. Teach me. What are the big holidays? What is this? What is that? And one of the holidays was no one was bidding on it in Google, which was kind of striking to me. And I was like, all right, we can do that. Like, it's right there. But I think you always have to have that growth mindset of simply saying, I don't know. It's okay not to know. It's okay to feel uncomfortable and to say, let me try this one. Let me see what we got.
And I love the perspective that you came to these situations with your hands open, like just saying, listen, I'm happy to help you. And, let's see what we can do for each other. And I just want to learn, as opposed to letting your ego get involved in it. I think that's part of it too, don't you?
I think it's a big part. I just launching a podcast on leadership, and we're interviewing some of the big C-suites I've talked to. And that's something I'm finding is the common element. We think leadership is to know everything. And the common element, I think, is just knowing nothing. It's just knowing who to ask. Mm-hmm. And I am very, very thankful for a Rolodex. There are times I'll call 5 different leaders and say, I just don't know this. That's okay. But I think we think leadership becomes that person who has to know everything and have all the answers, and maybe not having the answers, just having the questions is really more relevant.
Yes. Right. All you have to do is have the questions. That's really profound. Not having the answers, but having the questions. I feel like that's exactly how you created the Retail Tech Media Nexus, right? I mean, like it must have come exactly from that.
It did. I didn't intend to create it. Very out of the blue, surprise. And I probably made 50 phone calls on day one saying, I need your opinion on this. I need your opinion on this. I need your opinion on this. But yeah, it's out of that. I was presented with a left turn and said, okay, what am I going to do now? Like, let's figure that out. But I think that's always the case. I think you have a choice. You sit there and say, oh no, or I better get my butt up and start figuring out another thing, another world. And it was just born out of that surprise. I think that's just so many, you're talking to independent retailers. That is the part that always never ceases to amaze me with independent retailers, or anyone online especially. Something happens, you get blocked from Google, your social media account crashes, your sales are down, and then they all go, what happened? And I kind of equate it like if you're going sailing on the ocean. My great-grandfather was a sailor. I'm sure as heck he didn't go out in the ocean saying, I can't believe there's a wave today. How could there be an iceberg? What could happen? You have to approach business to me with the mindset, yeah, crazy stuff happens. And now what are you going to do about it? How do you change or adapt? And the blessing we have, especially online media, I mean, you and me, we connected. We're like, okay, let's talk. And you have to be open to that. Openness is probably the overall theme of the day, it feels like now.
Yeah, for sure. Life happens. Fires are always going to happen. It's not that. It's that true leaders aren't afraid to ask the questions to build up tools in their toolbox. I mean, that's really what it becomes. I think the difference between a new retailer and someone who's been around a while is that their toolbox is bigger. They have a lot of different size of wrenches. They have all sorts of different pliers to use to fix a problem.
You are correct, and it's always changing. I mean, AI is now the conversation. This is the conversation, but it wasn't. And especially, I think that's possibly also where this all comes from. I was online from before social media. One of the first platforms we were marketing to was before Google, was Alta Vista. I know I'm dating myself, but the point is to demonstrate that change. I remember actually the phone call was my niece Kimmy called about Facebook. And I was like, what in the hell are you telling me? This made no sense. And I just called Denise Kimmy and said, oh, can you please explain to me this Facebook? But I use that to illustrate it's the same mindset. What is this thing? And let's understand it. And I think a lot of independent retailers, it's okay to ask and it's okay to be confused. And that's, to me, the expectation.
Correct. Right.
If it feels uncomfortable to you to ask, you're going to hit some roadblocks, and that's why conversations like you have with everybody, I think, is valuable because it forces them to say, I don't know this. I don't understand this. Great. That's beautiful.
Because you can start with that.
Correct. One of the worst leadership things I saw was the guy who faked knowing everything. And I've seen leaders who pretend to know. That doesn't help. It's always better to double down on not knowing.
Exactly. Well, so we've covered the fact that people have to be able to ask questions. We've covered the fact that they have to be comfortable not knowing, which very few people are. What other sort of trends do you see? Because I believe that both of those things truly are trends and get on board with and use to their advantage. What else do you see emerging right now that independent small retailers have to pay attention to if they want to stay relevant and grow?
A lot of the conversation, of course, tariffs, AI, these are recent things. I think the trick is, though, the valuable part of data in today's world is that you can see these trends in real time. I think once you see something occurring, oh gosh, my supply chain is now affected, tariffs, that's bad. Oh, I can optimize my business this way using AI or using this. That's bad. You have to immediately just get into action with it and say, let me call 5 people with that. But, a different question I get all the time is like future predictions. And I never would have predicted AI would have been where it is now 3 years ago. That we were essentially reached the age of Star Trek where you could just scream at a computer and have it respond appropriately. Where will it be? I don't know. But my answer would be these trends are there. And the second you see the data points screaming this, But also one of the things like I was so proud of when I ran out around picks, I would just sit in the lobby. And I moved my laptop, I'd sit in the lobby, and I would listen. I studied a little Yiddish to understand the clientele. And I would just listen in and then sometimes say, what was she saying? I got half of it, but what was the concern there? Or what was that? That's another data point. If you're an independent retailer, you have one shop, sit in your lobby. Just
listen to the customers, hear what they're saying. Yeah.
In fact, to say it, one of my favorite retail stories ever was someone called me for advice. They had a small shop. And I said, did you ever talk to your customers? No. So what we worked out was we literally had them call every customer from the night before. Now, at first, she was like, that was insane. I said, well, how many? At the time, she had about maybe 50 customers. She did it on day 1, did it on day 2, and we started actively making a spreadsheet with all customer, question, problem, this. I did that at around picks when I ran it. I literally made a sheet of the top 200 previous customers who never ordered in the past 6 months. I called them, why not? What's going on? I remember my favorite was someone was like, I need a coupon. How much of a coupon? I need 17%. Okay, you got 17%. Next question. I authorized this. Done, authorized. Someone wanted a tour of the factory. You'll get a tour. Come by. I'll take you off a pizza. We'll get a tour. And I think that simple data of it's there. You can just call. You can find out these customers get that real-time data message in terms of what do people want.
So it can be hard for people to reach out and make those calls to their customers. But it's interesting because one of the things that we know can increase sales 13% for sure, guaranteed, is by carrying a month's worth of inventory of your best-selling items. So if this is your best-selling item and you sell 25 of them in a month, you should always have 25 of these on hand. If it's less than that, they won't show it. 13%. 13%, Dominic, you can take it to the bank. We track data like that for our clients. And it's funny because people don't want to hear that because they don't want to reorder the things that are selling well. They want to bring in the new stuff, And so I think so often this idea of calling their customers is such a great one, but it's not sexy. It's not. Why can't I just type something into AI? Why can't I just open up ChatGPT and put something in there? But they're missing the boat.
I enjoy pointing out when I go on stage at conferences, and I speak at 1-2 conferences every month. I will tell people, if you have any questions, write to me, follow me, send me a message right now. And it strikes me how you could identify those who are going to succeed or not. Those are the hustlers. Those are the ones saying, Dominic, I have a question for you. Or you said this, I want to ask you that. And I think everyone should do that. I think I wrote it out to you, Cathy. I think that's how we started talking. It's just like, hey, I see you're doing this. Just want to know, how's it going? While we're talking, try to pull up that first email. But that's natural. That's normal to, I shouldn't say that's natural. It's unnatural to reach out. But it's healthy to reach out and connect with people.
Yeah, for sure. It's so interesting to think about how there's such simple ways that people can impact their own mindset and their own growth, but that they won't always do that, right? I mean, I can't even imagine the retail conversations you've been part of.
Very lucky. I'm very blessed to have.
Oh, yeah. No, I can tell you feel that way about it, but it's amazing. What are some of the more memorable ones, and what takeaways are there from what a large brand does compared to what could a store owner take away from that? How could they adopt it in their own way?
I guess the biggest theme I find becomes I'll go to a conference and get approached later from the retailers. What did so-and-so just tell me? He'll walk up to a vendor's booth, he'll walk up to and say, what did he just say? Because I think you have to start at the basics of understanding. They'll go to a demo of a product, they'll connect with such and such, and they won't ask that question. Cathy, I hear what you're saying. The common problems for retailers, especially independent, certainly AI is a question, like how the hell do you use it? And maybe that's, now that I'm thinking out loud, maybe that's where I was just born out of. How do I get the eyeballs on the site? How do I make 40 million Americans look over here and say hello? For retailers, that was the question. Maybe it's starting with the question. Maybe it's starting, okay, that's great. Your whole lecture about AI is great. How do I use it to improve my operations? Let's focus on that. There's one company I'm on the board with, Engage 3, and it's just, how do I use the AI to figure out that best price that makes the customer react? And when you break those questions down to simplicity, I think it's advantage. It's funny, I didn't expect this to be the theme, and I'm glad it is, about the ability to have the openness and the communication. But that's all this is to me. So the common retailer small side trend is just lately tariffs, lately AI, how do I this, how do I that? And creating that comfort level to be able to ask those.
The question that I have about this is that, so I've been in retail for a very long time also, and I can tell you that I do believe that independent store owners are going to succeed. I know there will always be a place for them, positively. Yeah. And that if you're burnt out, you should take this opportunity. We have a whole Life After Retail program. Reach out. I'd be honored to help you transition, whatever. But I do think that this is the first time that I just don't really see what's going to happen exactly in the next 6 months.
I actually think that experiential is going to magnify, is my guess. The independent retailers have an opportunity. The ones I see succeeding are the ones that are doing these experiential events, using social media. There's a restaurant by me that every week have, like, this is Taylor Swift night, this is this night. And I thought, how brilliant. They saw the Taylor Swift trend. They invited people to come in and make those friendship bracelets. Mm-hmm. I think the retailers who consider it from that experiential point of view, if you have a retailer in the middle of wherever, and they know to touch the community, connect with that community. I have a friend who runs a local site in Quebec City, Canada. And one of the conversations we hit was, let's just do an event right now. Let's tell all the readers, come down to here and go for a walk. But you can do that easier. It's a world where you can put on an event. I'm doing a LinkedIn live event, how to help grow your LinkedIn. We have 200 people register and leaders, etc.
Wow.
I think you can do that. You
Yeah,
can
for sure.
be a retailer. So I think, though, people, that differentiates it. If I'm an independent retailer, I'm going experiential up the wazoo because I can always order my Amazon product. It's how do you beat the
Correct.
people like the Walmart and the Amazon? That's been the day old thing. Sears Roebuck was mailing you houses in the Midwest in the 40s. I mean, that's been since the dawn of time. And I think the differentiator since the dawn of time has been that experiential. Mr. Ingalls was not going to his local store because it was cheaper, maybe, than Sears Roebuck. He knew the guy in the store. Any independent retailer, I think now with social media, with optimization from AI, you can certainly go experiential 10 times over and make it so that they want to come to your store. They want to be there. They want to know you. Take advantage. Call every customer. My uncle was very would remember everyone's birthdays and call all his customers. And I think that personal thing. What did it take him? A minute? Happy birthday, Cathy. Gotta go. Talk to you later. Bye. I mentioned connection with the birthday, but the experiential retail that you can really make something unique. So yeah, I think that is going to be a differentiator, especially the more the big stores get really optimal. The independents should and could use that much more than they are.
I think that's very true. We talk to people about creating entire income streams around that, because what I believe is that a Retail Mavens world, we talk about 10 customers walking through your front door to your website. And out of those 10, your 2 out of the 10, your thumbs are they're 80% of your business. And how
Sure.
beyond a shadow of a doubt, they want you to succeed still. They
Yep.
want to give you money, but you have to give them a reason to. And no longer can you just say, oh, look, I got this new stuff in. That doesn't matter anymore. Like, people don't care. But right, well, can you rent a trolley and have people go through and see Christmas lights in your downtown, and you can offer food and drink on the trolley? Absolutely. We talk about doing that kind of thing all the time, and charging people for it, like not doing it for free, because people want the experience. I think that's really true. I'd sort of forgotten about how, regardless, that will always, the community is really the greatest asset that any independent retailer has. Their community and the ability to ask the questions.
It's funny. You just reminded me when you said trolley. RTM Nexus is all connecting the tech companies to the retailers and vice versa. One of the best things I did, we had a conference. This is years ago before I reformed this company. But the client wanted to meet more people at the conference. So we rented a van and just drove people from the airport, drove them around, drove them to this. And I laughed thinking the cost of that van was much less than the cost per meeting they wanted. So they drove up. Oh, Cathy, you want to go to the store? I'll drive you to the store. But if you think outside the box like that, I mean, you might have a retailer client in Ohio and Illinois, wherever, and you could be the only one in town. Maybe that trolley makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's cheaper to say, or maybe you make that event, or you're looking at the news, and I'm jumping on the news now and seeing, I don't know, what did Taylor Swift do tonight? Maybe you're having that. I saw one restaurant did something. Sly Stone just passed away, and they're doing a Sly Stone memorandum kind of dinner, and I thought, brilliant.
Right. Right.
You can reach out to that active now thing. So yeah, I think that's good change. That's what society wants. And I think that's also our post-COVID world. We all want to connect. I told you how many events we get calls to run RTM Nexus. Like, can we do Monday, okay, sure. But people just want to connect and see each other, slap high five, and make something happen.
Before we started recording, you explained to me the Retail Tech Media Nexus.
RTM can work too. RTM Nexus works.
All right, okay. Tell me why we care about this.
I realized in this equation, media is the end point. The consumer watches social media, reads media online, they make the purchase. The tech is that function of this equation of whether they're using Shopify, whether they're using so-and-so for last mile shipping, whether they're drop shipping, that's your tech. And then the retail is the product itself. And that cycle All we're doing is connecting the dots to whomever wants to connect to that other side. It's tech vendors want to connect more with the retailers. Maybe the retailers want to get more on TV and the media side of it. And we've created a whole organization of just connecting. Maybe it's all born out of this is the psychological confession from today of helping having that openness of connecting. And we made a whole business out of it. Just connect the dots.
Literally
See, I
just
like
connecting the dots and seeing what happens, like coming to it again with your hands open, like, let's just see what happens, right?
you have to approach it. So we made a whole business on that. Exactly that.
I love that. It's so interesting to see how much media influences consumer behavior. I love thinking about how in TV, if you watch the F1 documentary or the golf documentary or the tennis documentary, you get connected to those people, and that connection then drives everything else you do. Suddenly now I care about F1. Like, what? I mean, I never in a million years thought I'd care about F1, but I do now, because now I know the name of some of those guys, and you start to hear their story.
That's how we operate. I don't like that we also box things, media, tech, because it's all related. If you're an independent retailer, how you gonna get your sales? If you don't touch media, you ain't gonna sell the product. No one's gonna know. If you don't touch tech, you're gonna have a harder time optimizing and targeting that. And it's all one big ball.
All goes together. So is there anything else that you think a retailer can do to stand out and to grow?
Connect to your customer, reach out to the customer. I think experiential. There is a degree of personalization that can be done. I mean, I love reaching back in history and you think, why did we go to that corner store? They knew us. How you make it personal, you make it, Cathy, I see it's your birthday today. And I think you probably have retailers out there who have everyone's birthdays.
Yes,
And,
right.
we've made it, though, a little more of a farce in terms of like everyone gets the birthday email from every retailer in the world. What if it was retailers just standing out, reaching out, saying, hey, Cathy, I just want to thank you. Did 5 purchases this year. It's your birthday. Calling you the day before your birthday, so I don't bother you on your birthday. And do I have anything? No. Don't even shop us. You got a birthday to worry about. And it's more of a connection to be genuine than it is to be fake.
You're going to invest time and energy into a reel on Facebook or a reel on Instagram to talk about, oh, look at this new water bottle I have, blah, blah, blah. But if you took and invested that time into a true, real connection, how it will absolutely reap dividends for you. You absolutely will see a return on that investment.
Well, your method before of the 80% there, basically, the 20%. That's all it needs. The independent retailer just needs to focus on that. Once you get there, you just focus your energy in that spot, if you will. It's interesting you mentioned the weeds. The whole time I've been thinking how many times I'll talk to businesses that do get lost in the weeds in terms of, I just discovered this new tool. I just discovered this new thing. And you're like, no, it's a good tool. Don't get me wrong. It's a great tool. I could love it, but it's not going to, why are you selling the product? Ultimately, people selling with that emotion. So connect with that emotion. That's it. It's right there.
Right. That's a beautiful message. You have to connect with that emotion, right? Get people's eyes on it and connect with their emotion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that actually could be on your tombstone. That's what you've done your whole life.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I love ending the episode by asking you what your milli moment is. And a milli moment is when you've achieved something in your business that felt extraordinary, something that made you pause, and reflect and said, wow, I did that.
There's a speech I did in March on leadership, and it was kind of the culmination of speaking to the team I had and leading with humanity. You could see it if you go to my site, miserandino.com, you click speeches and you'll see it. But it was really an interesting moment for me because it was more of a culmination of emotional pride of what worked, what didn't work, and how to lead a team with humanity.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we'll make sure to put it in the notes for you, in the notes for everyone, because it is something that people aren't trained enough about. I am very passionate about helping people learn to be better leaders. I say I build leaders every day. It's not what I do, it's who I am, because I really believe that every single person that I come in contact with in my team or with retailers, with anyone, that they all are leading people and that they all have to be encouraged and to realize how they're doing that and how they can be better at it.
I love it. Thank you, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dominic. I'm so grateful for your time. And listen, you guys, I'd love to know what you took away from this. Ask a question. We challenge you, Dominic and I challenge you to ask a question. Connect with me anywhere. We're Retail Mavens everywhere. Where can they find you, Dominic?
Go to LinkedIn. Connect with me. I'm ready.
We'll have all of his information in our show notes too. Don't miss this opportunity. Take this wisdom that was given to you today and let it change the way you do things. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. Wait a minute. In case no one has told you today, you are absolutely fantastic. You are amazing. You are astonishing. We're so glad you're here. Keep on doing what you're doing. You're so important to the world.